Hey, I'm Brent, and today on Unpacked, we're going to be talking about form factor certification for Amazon's frustration-free packaging programs. I was going to say something clever here, but I have nothing. So, you want to certify your products, eh? So let's say you sell products on Amazon and you want to do the right thing and certify your packaging as SIOC. Or maybe you got a letter from Amazon saying that you have to certify, but you have some questions, such as, do I have to test and certify each variant, like every color, size, flavor, smell, formula? You know, a lot of my items are similar, and do I have to test every one of them? I mean, they come in the same kind of packaging some of them do, or, you know, can I just save a bunch of time and just test one of them? So I think today we have some good news and maybe some bad news for you. We'll see. That's up to you. So there's a way to do this called form factor certification. So how do you do it? Maybe more importantly, how do you know if your products can be certified this way? So it's basically a matter of determining how similar your products or variants are to one another. So now you're saying, great, I have 5,000 products and I can certify them all together? Slow down. There are some rules involved. What makes products similar enough? It has to be physical similarity, first of all, not just one or two things in common. Like if you have a red umbrella and a red hammer, that's not close enough. This is normally for variants of basically the same product. So first of all, there's a couple of exclusions. Pause for laughter. So first of all, it only applies to certain things. The test method has to be either ISTA6 Amazon Overbox or SIOC Type A. So that means anything over 108 inches long, 165 inches in girth, or 50 pounds or more is excluded. They've also excluded fragile items, anything with 50% or more fragile material like ceramics, glass, porcelain, delicate electronics, anything that breaks easily. Liquids are also not allowed, and no motorized parts. So sorry, but your stained glass drink dispensing robot is a no-go. These exclusions are where Amazon says, hey, protection is too critical to assume that similar items will survive in the same ways. We need to test each one. So let's say your products did get ruled out by any of these things. Awesome. Next, let's look at the rules for what's similar enough and what's not. La 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 la. So the first thing we're going to talk about is size and weight. So secondary ASINs can be up to 25% smaller in one dimension or up to 25% smaller in total volume than the primary. So you're going to start with the largest and go down from there. They can also be up to 25% lighter weight than the primary, and this applies to anything over 8 ounces. Whew, that's a lot of parameters. Give it you. Choosing a product to be tested as the primary ASIN, you'll want to pick up the largest, heaviest item. So your secondary ASINs have to be made of the same stuff as your primary. So if your variants are a metal version, a wood version, a plastic version, a ceramic version, well, those aren't similar enough, since they may not hold up to testing in the same way. So all secondary ASINs have to be the same quantity as the primary ASINs. So a 6-pack can't be lumped under a 24-pack, for example. And dimensionally and weight-wise, it probably wouldn't anyways. Also, each ASIN must have the same type and design of packaging, so same material thickness and specification and general construction of the packaging. So if you think about it, after all, you're certifying the packaging for its protection, its fitness for shipping, so you can't just up and change the material that it's made out of. Another note, your product to package ratio must be similar. So don't take a huge box with a small item and the same box with a bigger item in it. That just doesn't work. The cubic volume of your product relative to the cubic volume of your packaging needs to be similar. And there are a couple rules around that if you watch one of our other videos. So knowing the criteria that Amazon has put in place, you can see a sort of strategy for doing form factor certification. Pause for effect. So let's look at a couple of examples. So this tape measure, for example, if I start here at the largest one, I may be able to get form factor certification for this one. I would have to do a volume comparison to see. So it's 25%. It's less than 25% smaller in each direction, but as long as my overall volume is not smaller, this guy would probably not apply. This is pretty substantially smaller. Now all of these, well, even weight-wise, this is probably closer to an 8 ounce. This would not apply for obvious reasons. It's a totally different construction, totally different product. Just because it is a measuring device does not mean that it fits under form factor. These two sets of earmuffs are just a color variation. Only one of these would have to be tested. So again, anything that has just a color variation or a scent, a flavor, a formulation does not need to be tested. Now, that doesn't mean that it's always a bad idea. We've seen cases where a certain resin can actually be more brittle than another resin. So for your own protection and damage rate, you may still want to test more than just one item. So hopefully that helps give a little bit of clarity on this form factor certification. If you have more questions, just leave a message, a link below, a question, and we'll answer that, and stay tuned for future videos.